Parker, what's happening, dude? How you doing out there? Salt Lake, right?
Yes, yeah, Salt Lake, things are good out here. Got beautiful weather and starting to get outside more, so it's good.
Yeah. Are you a big skier? That's a big ski area, right?
I'm not. Everyone asks me that.
Okay. I don't like to see everyone.
Yeah, I skied a little bit growing up out in Michigan, so not like real skiing, but yeah, more of a warm weather sports kind of guy.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. So I am infinitely curious about the city of Salt Lake, but we're going to have that conversation at camp. Are you coming to triathlon or Nashville?
Yeah, I'll be in Nashville.
Okay. So we met last year, right, at the Wisconsin camp, I believe. Or did we meet before that?
Yeah, I think that was the first time Wisconsin camp.
Yeah. Okay. And then you came back and you did Wisconsin.
Yep.
And I don't know. According to me, that was a pretty solid day you threw down out there. Felt pretty good that day. It was a solid race. I think you're top 10, right, overall?
Yep. Yeah. I think 9th overall.
Yeah, 9th. No. Top 9 overall. Congratulations. And you know, obviously you made a fan out of me and you made a big fan of my mother.
Yeah, I met your mom before the race. That was awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure she gave you some great on course tips that morning.
Yep.
But anyway, so that was awesome. We had a great time together. And why don't we just start with kind of like, give me a little bit your background on endurance sports and everything like that when triathlon came into the picture. And let's just start with that one.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up swimming, competitive swimming through high school, and carried it on a little bit into college. Not real serious, just kind of like club swimming, more of a social group. And so moved to Chicago right out of school and wasn't really doing anything for a couple of years. And decided I kind of wanted to make a life change and just get healthier overall. And so kind of started to pick up running. And I really started with training for a 5K. And, I could barely, get to that distance at that point running.
And how old are you at this point?
Probably early 20s.
Okay.
I think so a couple years out of school.
Mature decision to get your life back under control in your early 20s.
Yeah. And I mean, it was really as simple as training for a 5K. Right. Kind of started out, and I remember running along the lakefront path in Chicago and thinking like, oh, I want to go further, like more closer down into the city. And it kind of snowballed from there. So like just upped it to training for a 10K and then half marathon and eventually a marathon. And so that's kind of how I got into running. And triathlon was always in the back of my mind as something I wanted to get into. And so once I kind of had the swimming and running down, just went out, bought a bike, and started biking outside. And really that year I started biking is when I kind of started tris. And that was maybe 26, 27 years old, probably.
Okay.
And yeah, it just kind of went from there. Started with, Olympic 70.3 and got hooked on it.
Yeah, you did. Now, I assume that noise over there isn't like your cowboy boot spurs.
Got a couple of dogs here, yeah. Whenever I get on.
I don't think cowboys in Salt Lake or I don't know. Anyway, so, okay, that's awesome, man. It's kind of a, sort of a typical how people get into the triathlon with the 5K, but you obviously had that swimming background. Yep. And I've seen you swim, and I attest that you must have been a pretty good swimmer when you were younger too. So very impressive. And how do you think that, you think you're pretty good at instructing swimming, or do you just kind of get it naturally now? Or do you have how do you work with people on the swim?
Yeah, so I actually coached youth swimming for probably 4 years, kind of more of like a summer job, kind of in between, or maybe while I was in school, kind of home from college. And that was a really great experience, just working with a kind of wide range of abilities of kids that, some just starting swimming from scratch, and then all the way up to kind of some of the older kids that, were kind of top of their age group. So learning how to coach all different styles of abilities, and kind of willingness to be there. Some of the kids kind of forced to be there a little bit, and so you kind of have to try different tactics with them. So that's really kind of where that started, and my really love for coaching.
Yeah, and it's just interesting because obviously when you're a kid, things just come easier to you, I think, and you probably saw tremendous improvements over short periods of time. And now we're talking about triathlon, where there's a lot of adult onset swimmers that really just don't have that background and don't pick it up. Do you have like a common thing you see with a lot of, one of the biggest problems that you might see with, triathlete swimmers that maybe didn't grow up swimming?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think the consistency is a huge piece of that. I think about people getting started out in swimming and getting to the pool 3 times a week versus as a kid, you're swimming 6-7 times a week, 2 hours a day. And so it's really tough to kind of build that skill, only getting to the pool 2 or 3 times a week. So I'm a huge proponent of, even if it's just really short distances starting out, getting to the pool as often as possible, to kind of maintain those good habits. So that's kind of the biggest thing that I see.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because I mean, I'm that way, and I have just through experience realized that, we could sit there and pick apart somebody's stroke all day long, but if they're not swimming enough, they're probably swimming with decent enough form to be a fairly good swimmer, but they're just not putting it anywhere near the yardage. And nobody grew up swimming, not many people, but they all grew up kind of running around the playground or maybe riding around the bike, and they have that experience, they have that, legacy in their body, and they don't have it in swimming. So I cringe sometimes when we get so obsessed with, maybe your elbow's like an inch too low or something like that. Like, it's just crazy to me. But anyway, because you're not fit enough to hold your elbow a little higher too. So the fitness is just a big play.
Right.
But anyway, so how long you been involved with C26 as an athlete?
I joined in 2021, I think.
Okay.
So right after COVID, I was kind of coming off of a really big injury, a stress fracture is when I joined and kind of jumped in.
Yeah, I think I remember that vaguely. I know you were working with Robbie, and so do you have a biggest maybe lesson that you've learned since you've been working in the C26 coaching system?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for me starting out and getting hooked on the sport, I was, very much type A, very data driven, maybe a little bit too serious in the sport when I was in my 20s. And that's a huge thing that I've taken away. Like, yes, I still work hard. I'm still kind of interested in the data side of it, but I've really, I think, relaxed and taken a more fun approach to the sport. So, still going out, training hard, being consistent, but, having fun too. And that carries over to the races too. And some of my best races have been when I've just gone out and really had a good time. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've taken from C26 is, looking back, and some of my worst races have been when I've been really serious and, kind of ultra performance driven. So that's been huge for me. And I've seen, really great improvement because of that too.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, man, because I just was talking to Nikki about that a little bit, but we have, obviously, you were top 10 at Wisconsin last year. We have, last 10 finishers. And I think we had that at Wisconsin last year, maybe. And all of it is about, being relaxed and being able to perform, so it's all relative. And I think that, I guess my point is that we kind of preach that have fun, be relaxed, enjoy the day, but that doesn't mean we don't compete for the top, too. So,
Right.
and I'm sure that's kind of how you approach it. It's like with me, I'm pretty laid back on this stuff, and, I can't make people do the work, but that doesn't mean I'm not intense or I don't compete, and I think that those things can really flow together nicely, if you understand how to do them.
Yeah, for sure. And Wisconsin was, I think, a great example. Just going out, is smiling most of the time, high fiving people. I mean, that course has just awesome energy, and so yeah, I ultimately think that was a big part of doing well on that day.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long day. You can't be like super intense for that amount of time. I mean, you're gonna fall apart and crack.
Yeah.
So I guess a follow-up is kind of how has your experience, and you kind of answered it, but maybe you can just go a little bit more on it. How has your experience as an athlete with C26, sort of shaped your coaching philosophy, at least to this point? Because
yeah, definitely. I think to kind of expand on that, it's really a balance, and like I said, I have that experience with being a little bit more data driven, but now moving a little bit more away from that, and also kind of the more going by feel. I think that's really important, and being able to adjust things and not being married to numbers and hitting this exact number on a workout or in a race. Super important to kind of know the other side of it, and being able to train and race by feel so that you can make adjustments on the fly, as you're doing that. So I think that's another thing that I've learned a lot from being part of C26, and has really helped me as well. So I definitely take that approach too. And yes, the data and numbers are important, but we also have to understand, how do those feel, and to be able to kind of adjust based off of how you're feeling on the day, what the conditions are. Really important.
Yeah. I'm big on that, numbers, kind of aligning with your effort and understanding how they work together, and I never used to, I'm still not a huge numbers person, but I mean, I've always respected them. I just always feel it's really important to understand your feel first. And
right.
Because, like we always say, is if shit breaks down in a race and you got to go by feel, what are you going to do?
Right.
But anyway, so as a coach, what kind of things, what kind of wins do you like to see from your athletes? Like, what kind of things make you feel good as a coach? But like Nikki said, something like when an athlete kind of finally gets something that's been, there's sort of these, theories and kind of concepts that are tough to grasp sometimes with athletes, and you have to sort of explain them in different ways. But that was sort of what she was saying, and maybe that's what you would want to say, but I don't know. What do you like to see from your athletes?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, and having the swim background, I take a lot from just kind of progress in swimming. I think that can offer, a lot of big wins in this sport, is seeing progress in the pool. I'm working with someone right now who started swimming last year, no experience whatsoever, and just seeing his progression to 130s consistently is a huge win. So and that translates over to everything else too, right? Swim fitness can kind of building a strong engine there can help not only with bike and run fitness, but also puts you in a better position to be fresher for those disciplines. So for me, that's something that's I think a huge win is seeing progress in the pool, and something that's so technical and so difficult, especially for people who pick it up kind of later.
That's a really good answer, man. I think because not only that, if you can take the fear of the swim out for
Mhm.
probably at least half the people in triathlon. If you could take that kind of out as a anxiety piece, then you're getting somewhere. So that, I mean, because that's what people are afraid of, all the time. But anyway, so what are you training for right now?
Doing maybe a local race or two coming up soon, and then I'll be back in Madison again for the 70.3, and then Kona to close out the year.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right, yeah. I talked to CJ yesterday. He's going to be out there in Kona with you.
Yep. Yeah.
That's fun. Are you? That's a dumb question, maybe, but are you? Obviously you trained very hard to get to where you got at Wisconsin last year. And then I was kind of joking with him. It's sort of, you got to work your ass off to get there. And then you got to make a decision if you want to work your ass off again to not look like an idiot.
Right. Yeah.
Not an idiot, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So are you going after it, or you just want to be solid?
I'm definitely kind of starting to ramp up and train hard for it. But, I also want it to be a little bit of a celebration, right? Last year was kind of a huge accomplishment for me. And so, yes, I want to do relatively well at that race, but also just have fun and, enjoy it as much as possible. So, that's kind of my approach to it.
That's a good approach, man. And I know they've changed things as far as the swim start a little bit. And I can't remember, is it just men and women, or they do age group now too? I don't know,
I think it's all like, an age group start.
Yeah, because that was, interestingly enough, I knew a guy who was kind of about my speed. He had a good day at Wisconsin once and qualified on some roll down type stuff. So a pretty solid guy. And he went out to Kona, and he said the swim was absolutely horrible because what he found was like there's so many good athletes out there that everyone is sort of the same speed.
Right.
And that becomes the big log jam, and you're dealing with it the whole day on the swim. But obviously, if as a good swimmer, you're going to want to get out in front of that. But if they're not doing it that way, it doesn't matter as much. But that's a big deal too, right? I mean, if you can get out of that water without anybody around you the whole time, which I assume was most of last year's race until the second loop, right? Yeah. How much did you hit at the second loop, by the way? I get that question a lot. Did you have to go around a ton of people?
Yeah, a good amount. Yeah, I would try to stay kind of on the inside of the buoys, the ones that you don't have to turn around, to kind of get a little bit of clear water, but it gets pretty congested.
I mean, it's night and day, right? That second loop had to.
Yeah, definitely. It takes a lot of work to kind of like relax yourself and try not to push too hard on it.
So they let you inside the buoys, huh? Because I remember I felt like they were always perpendicular up with the kayak, and they really weren't letting me inside last year, which is where I need to be. But maybe they were getting there a little slower, and you already passed them. So that's cool. So anything else you want to say, man, about the being with the C26 team and what maybe a future athlete might expect in working with the one and only Parker Watt?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say to kind of reiterate, I think C26 overall has been a really positive experience for me, and really kind of taking a step back and making sure that while continuing to work hard and trying to perform at a high level, also making sure I have good balance in my life. And that's something that I didn't have in my 20s, starting out in the sport, very focused on all things triathlon. And now I feel like I have a really good balance in my life, still training hard, but also enjoying it a lot, and it fits into my life. So that's really the approach that I take with my athletes, and really can kind of work with a wide variety, whether it's high performance and more data oriented, but also have that experience with kind of going by feel, which I think is a great combination.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I couldn't agree more, man. All right, buddy. Well, I'll let you get back to your day. I appreciate your time here today on the, I guess, C26 Coach Cast. But,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'll be seeing you soon in Nashville, and we'll have to definitely catch up. I'm going to stop this recording, but we can hang on for just a second. Okay?
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep.